chapter 18. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled themselves together at Shiloh, and set up the tent of the meeting there, and the land was subdued before them. And there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not received their inheritance. And Joshua said unto the children of Israel, How long are you slack to go in to possess the land, which the Lord the God of your fathers has given you? Appoint for you 3 men of each tribe, and I will send them, and they shall rise, and walk through the land, and describe it according to their inheritance, and they shall come unto me. And they shall divide it into 7 portions. Judah shall abide in his border on the south, and the house of Joseph shall abide in their border on the north. And you shall describe the land into 7 portions, and bring the description here to me, and I will cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. For the Levites have no portion among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance, and Gad and Reuben and the half-tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan, eastward, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave them. And the men arose and went, and Joshua charged them that went to describe the land, saying, Go and walk through the land, and describe it, and come back to me, and I will cast lots for you here before the Lord in Shiloh. And the men went and passed through the land, and described it by cities into 7 portions in a book. And they came to Joshua unto the camp at Shiloh. And Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua divided the land unto the children of Israel according to their divisions. And the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families. And the border of their lot went out between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph. And their border on the north side was from the Jordan, and their border went up to the side of Jericho on the north, and went through the hill country westward, and the goings out thereof were at the wilderness of Bethaven. And the border passed along from there to Luz, to the side of Luz, the same as Bethel, southward, and the border went down to Adaroth, Adar, by the mountain that lieth on the south of Beth-horon, the nether. And the border was drawn and turned about on the west side southward from the mountain that lieth before Beth-horon southward, and the goings out thereof were at Kiriath Baal, the same as Kiriath Jearim, a city of the children of Judah. This was the west side. And the south side was from the uttermost part of Kiriath Jearim, and the border went out westward, and went out to the fountain of the waters of Nephtoah. And the border went down to the uttermost part of the mountain that lieth before the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is in the vale of Rephaim northward, and it went down to the valley of Hinnom, to the side of the Jebusite southward, and went down to Enrogel. And it was drawn on the north, and went out at En-Shamash, and went out to Galileath, which is over against the ascent of Ajaman, and went down to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben. And it passed along to the side over against the Arabah northward, and went down unto the Arabah, and passed the border along the side of Beth-hoglah northward, and the goings out of the border were at the north bay of the Salt Sea, at the south end of the Jordan. This was the south border. And the Jordan was to be the border of it on the east side. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, by the borders thereof, round about, according to their families. Now the cities of the tribe of the children of Benjamin, according to their families, were Jericho, and Beth-hoglah, and Emech-keziz, and Beth-arabah, and Zemarim, and Bethel, and Avim, and Parah, and Ophrah, and Sephar Ammona, and Ophni, and Geba, 12 cities with their villages, Gibeon, and Ramah, and Beroth, and Mizpah, and Shephirah, and Mozah, and Rechem, and Irpil, and Teralah, and Zelah, and Eleph, and the Jebusite, the same as Jerusalem, Gibeath, and Kiriath, 14 cities, their villages, with their villages. This is the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, according to their families. All right, let's go back to verse 1. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled themselves together at Shiloh, and set up the tent of the meeting there, and the land was subdued before them. Okay, and Shiloh was going to be in Mount Gerizim, if I'm not mistaken. And they set the tent of the meeting there up. This is the tent that Moses had built in the way coming out of the wilderness. And this would be their place of worship until for many years to come. The land was subdued before them. Okay, well, I don't think this is exactly what happened, but, we can leave it there. Verse 2, and there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not received their inheritance. So we find out in verse 2 that the land was not subdued before them because there's 7 tribes yet that ain't got their inheritance. What it is the larger tribes and those that complain the most have their inheritance. 3, and Joshua said unto the children of Israel, how long are you slack to go in to possess the land which the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you? So, and we'll find that it's been several years now, over 5 years, and they still haven't got the job done. As they receive their inheritance, these tribes are getting slack and returning to their homes, and the armies are dwindling down. God's no longer fighting with them, and they know it. They've sinned, and they can't get right. Verse 4, appoint for you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them, and they shall rise and walk through the land and describe it according to their inheritance, and they shall come unto me. So Joshua's telling these tribes, these 7 tribes that don't have their inheritance yet, each one of you get 3 men, and we're going to send them into the land, and they're going to see where to divide it, and they're going to come back to me. And they shall, in verse 5, divide it into 7 portions. Judah shall abide in his border on the south, and the house of Joseph shall abide in their border on the north. So these borders here are already established. The borders of Manasseh, and Ephraim, and Judah are already established. Go search out the land, and then record it and bring it back, and we'll divide it up. Verse 6, and you shall describe the land into 7 portions, and bring the description here to me, and I will cast lots for you before the Lord our God. And that's basically what he said. Go write it down in a book, and divide it up into 7 portions. And basically what he's saying, you guys hammer it out, work it out between you, bring it to me all figured out, and I'm going to go and cast lots before the Lord your God, and see who gets what. Verse 7, for the Levites have no portion among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance, and Gad and Reuben and the half-tribe Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan eastward, in which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them. And we'll remember that's what's happened. The 2.5 tribes, they've already got their land on the other side of the Jordan. Levites don't get no land, but they do get cities there amongst the tribes, in the midst of the other tribes. They received 6 cities, 3 on the other side for the manslayer, 3 on this side for the manslayer, and 3 more if they would have done their work correctly. We see that the inheritance of the Levites is, as always, to make sure the truth is in the world. 8, and the men rose and went, and Joshua charged them that they went to describe the land, saying, go and walk through the land and describe it, and come back to me, and I will cast lots for you before the Lord in Shiloh. And this is basically just repeating what we've already known. Joshua is telling the men now. Before we was talking to the elders and telling them to go pick out 3 men. Now we're talking to the men that's going to go themselves. And he's saying, go and walk through the land and describe it, and come back to me. 9, and the men went and passed through the land, and described it by the cities into 7 portions in a book, and they came to Joshua into the camp at Shiloh. So they've went on their journey, they've walked through the land, described and figured it all out, and they've got it worked out and wrote down in a book. They've come to Joshua. Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua divided the land unto the children of Israel according to their divisions. So there in Shiloh, the resting place, the place of rest, did Joshua do this. 11. And the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families, and the border of their lot went out between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph. So little Benjamin is going to be the first one. He come up first. He drawed the first stick, and he's going to get his land, and his borders are going to be in between Judah and Ephraim, or the house of Joseph, Manasseh and Joseph being the total sum of the or Manasseh and Ephraim being the sum of the house of Joseph. So his little land's parked right in dead in the middle, and we're going to find out that basically gets carved out of a portion of Judah and borders there on Ephraim. 12. And the border on the north side was from Jordan, and the border went up to the side of Jericho on the north, and went up through the hill country westward, and the goings out thereof were at the wilderness of Bethaven. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line across the north side of this territory of Benjamin, and we're going to start at the Jordan, right there by Jericho. Remember, Jericho is the border of Ephraim north. So right there on that same line, we're going to come across using this same border line that Ephraim has, and we're going to use this to create our northern line. 13. And the border passed along from thence to Luz, to the side of Luz, the same as Bethel, southward, and the border went down to Atroth Adar, by the mountain that lieth on the south of Beth Horon the nether. And Luz, remember, is the almond tree that's either there by the altar that they built for God, or it is a small town there near Bethel which has almond trees. And Beth Horon the nether would be the lower. There's two Beth Horons. You have one that is upper on the hill, and you have Beth Horon the lower, which is down below. 14. And the border was drawn and turned about on the west side, southward from the mountain that lieth before Beth Horon. Southward, and the going out thereof were at Kiriath Baal, and the same as Kiriath Jearim, a city of the children of Judah. That was the west side. And so we went as far west as we're going to go, and we've stopped there at Beth Horon, and we've went south from there down to Kiriath Baal, which is the city of Baal. Baal was the calf-like god that they worshipped, and the same as Kiriath Jearim. And we remember Kiriath Jearim. It's the city of the forest. It's a city in the children of Judah. This was the west side, so that's where their border stopped. And the south side was from the uttermost part of Kiriath Jearim, and the border went out westward and went out to the fountain of the waters of Nephtoah. And we would find out this would be the far west border at Kiriath Jearim, and there it would go back toward the fountain of Nephtoah, which is also there in Judah. 16. And the border went down to the uttermost part of the mountain that lieth before the valley of the son of Hinnom, and which is in the valley of the Rephaim northward, and it went down to the valley of Hinnom, to the side of the Jebusites southward, and went down to En-Rogel. And En-Rogel was the fountain of Rogel. And we noticed that it has come down now to the Jebusites' land, which was the border of Judah before. And we're going back toward the east now. And it was 17, and it was drawn on the north, and then it went down unto En-Shemesh, and went unto Gelaloth, which is over against the ascent of Adumim, and went down to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben. And what we've done now at En-Rogel, it was on the north side of En-Rogel, this fountain of Rogel, and it is drawn north and went down at En-Shemesh. So we've just took a little jog back up, but we're still in a westward motion, or an eastward motion now, and it went out to Gelaloth, which is over against the ascent or the going up of Adumim, and went down to the stone of Bohan. We remember the stone of Bohan over by the Jordan, which is the son of Reuben which is the boundaries of Reuben on the other side. and it passed along the side over against the Arabah northward and went down into the Arabah. And this is the plain land there by the Jordan. And the border passed along the side of Beth Hoglah, went northward. And the goings out of the border were at the north bay of the Salt Sea, at the south end of the Jordan. This was the border, the south border. And all it did was make a little jog, just enough so that Judah could still have access to the bay there at where the Jordan meets the Salt Sea. And the Jordan was the border of it on the east side. And this was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, by the borders thereof round about according to their families. And basically they ain't got a whole lot of space there at the Jordan, but they do have, there is a little room there so that they can have access to the river. Now, verse 20 says this is where we finish it up. Now, 21, we go to all the cities of the that was within the borders of Benjamin. 21. Now the cities of the tribe of the children of Benjamin, according to their families, were Jericho and Beth Hoglah and Amkeziz. Of course, here we once again have these. We're naming 3 cities at a time in the lines. So what I do is I always go back and I translate them. I'm not going to go through and read all the translations like I have before. Some people may not want to hear them, and then they may be offensive to others, and these translations would go like this. In verse 21, we have Jericho, Beth Hoglah, and Amkeziz, and they would translate like this. Jericho is its moon. Of course, this always is in reference to the lesser light. So the lesser light in the house of the partridge is cut off. And, you know, the partridge has always been has symbolic meaning all through time, and for thousands of years the partridge has been used as symbology. And the partridge has been used in symbology in many religions. So we find that this house of the partridge is cut off, and the partridge is always staring at the moon. So that's one reason the moon's used here, and the partridge together, because the partridge is the one that's always staring at the moon. It's also been used as a symbolism of fertility for their mating ritual. So we'll move on, and we would find that the verse 22 would translate, and Beth Arabah, and Zemarim, and Bethel, and the house of the desert valley. The double wool is cleaned in the house of God. And this double wool being cleaned is in reference to the wool being washed twice, and that these things would have to come about twice for the understanding to reach men, that they might understand. 2 examples have been given. Twice taught, twice paid for their sins, paid for the price in time of redemption. 23. The Avim and Parah and Ophrah. These cities would translate perversions in the place of the heifer, or made dusty. And this would be the desert valley. This is that desert valley that was spoke of in verse 2's translation. The made dusty is from the lack of rain falling from God, this dry place that thirsts. The perversions in the place of the heifer. They've perverted the place of the heifer, and we'll remember the heifer from Deuteronomy, where they take the heifer that has never seen the yoke, and they bring her down into the valley, this valley that is not touched by men, and there they break her neck, and the elders wash their hands over the heifer to make atonement for the people. And this is place has become perverted, this place where they make atonement for the people. All right, we ain't going to go into all of them. We've read all these little verses down through there, and we're going to find that they do have some sort of significant meaning. We'll skip down to 27, 28. Y'all can do your own homework and figure out the rest of them. 27 would be translated at Rachem and Erpil and Teralah. We'll go on to 28, and Zalah and Aleph, a Jebusite, the same as Jerusalem, and Gibeath and Kerath, the 14 cities. Let's go to translate that. We'll translate this, mixed within. The mixed within being represented to the variegated as a variegation, a mottledness, the having different colors mixed within, the different teachings mixed within. The mixed within, the mighty one heals, shaking the lame. Thousands are under the yoke in the teachings of peace, O exalted city. And this place, the teachings of peace, we know is Jerusalem. And this becomes the exalted city. It also becomes the place where those things would come who bring thousands under the yoke. And this is the yoke of iron that's mentioned in Deuteronomy. Not the yoke that God put upon you, but the yoke of iron that men have made. This is the yoke we would see in the end times that would be put upon men. And we're going to learn more about this as we go. All right, great symbology hidden within these names of these cities here. And you can search it out. It's good homework. All right, we're going to move on to chapter 19.